This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And welcome to The Drive. I am Dale Lolley here with the Matt Williamson. Somebody asked me we asked people for questions yesterday on our YouTube channel, and somebody asked me why I am not the Dale Lolley. There's a reason. There's an impetus for calling you the Matt Williamson, because Matt Williamson is a fairly common name.
Absolutely.
Dale Lolley is not a fairly common name.
That's true as well. So, but I'm proud of myself. My kids recently Googled Matt Williamson. I was the first one that came up.
That's why I'm saying you are the Matt Williamson. That's why I say that.
Pretty good company.
Yeah. There's only one. He's the one. He's the one that everybody needs to know. There's only, for Dale Lolley, there may be another Dale Lolley out there, and it's a much more popular name in like Alabama, I guess.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
But there aren't any. All the Lolleys that I know in Pennsylvania are related to me.
I gotcha. Okay.
In my generation of the Lolley family, we had a whole bunch of girl cousins. I had two boy cousins, but they were both from my dad's sister. So I was the only Lolley boy for a long, long time out of like 16 grandkids.
Okay. So growing up, I always thought Williamson was such a common name. I wanted my mom's maiden name, which is Zabrovis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not Bushhammer, which was her mother's maiden name.
That's my mother-in-law's maiden name.
Bushhammer.
Yeah. Indeed. Very German now.
Very German, yes.
But I wanted Zabrovis. That's a tough one.
I said you should have named your son, because what we did with my son, my oldest son, we picked one of my wife's father's side of the family, one of his the last names that were involved there.
Yeah.
So his middle name is Holt. Okay. Your son's middle name should have been Bushhammer.
Should have been Bushhammer, or Zabrovis was a good one too.
Yeah.
He actually the same initials as me.
Preferably Bushhammer. That would have been.
He's MCW. He's Michael Craig. I wanted to call him Michael Corleone Williamson. My wife wasn't going for that.
Yeah.
But I still have a Mike and a Kate, because my kids don't look like Apollonia.
Anyway, we digress. That's why it's the Matt Williamson.
Apollonia Williamson wouldn't have gone over well with my super German-looking daughter. Yeah.
Anyway, so today's practice reports.
We got
for
Thursday.
The Steelers
we got game tonight. Let's roll, man.
And Colts. For the Steelers, things looking a little better. The only guys who did not practice today were the same two that weren't, a rest situation.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting Jalen Warren and Alex Highsmith.
Okay. Highsmith, we basically know is out, right?
Yeah.
Is Warren still a game time decision, or are we thinking there's a pretty good chance he's set?
See what happens tomorrow.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson limited again today. Najee Harris, who was given the day off yesterday, full participant. Deshaun Elliott, who was limited yesterday with the quad, was a full participant today.
Good.
Who else didn't? Michael Pruitt didn't practice again today.
That one doesn't look super promising, right?
TJ Watt back at practice today. Excuse me.
Okay.
And Larry Ogunjobi back at practice today. On the Colts side of things, though, some interesting guys on this not practicing. Kenny Moore.
That's big.
For the second consecutive day, did not practice with a hip issue.
Okay.
He's their best corner.
Oh, yeah. He's one of the best slots in the league, but he's such a good slot that he also plays outside in two corner situations.
One of their other corners, Chris Lamons, still not practicing. He's got a knee and ankle issues.
Okay.
Limited participant was linebacker Grant Stewart. Kwity Paye did not practice again for the second consecutive day.
I get the impression Paye's injury is significant. Like, he's probably not going to play this game.
Braden Smith, their starting right tackle, was limited today after being not practicing yesterday. But even at that, I don't want him out there in any form or fashion if he's limited against TJ Watt.
Right. He's probably still their best option, but that favors the Steelers no matter what, and now it favors
even
Steelers
more so.
Even
just tips the scale a little bit more. Defensive end Tyquan Lewis did not practice today after being limited yesterday with the calf and wrist issues.
Okay.
And the new addition to the injury report today for them, and this is a neck issue, center Ryan Kelly.
Oh, really? Quality player. Probably the 8th to 10th best center in the league. He's had a good career. Steady, leader of a good offensive line. You had your center and right tackle banged up. That's not great.
That's significant.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Is Zach Frazier starting to slide past
I would
Guys
say.
like the Ryan Kellys of the world?
I think so. I mean, it's only been 3 games. That's a little...
It's a short period. But
right. But there's only 32 starters in the league, and Frazier's not 32.
He's not
I promise
32.
you that, right.
And 2 of the starters who happen to be playing against, their teams are playing against each other this week, New Orleans and Atlanta. Dahlman with Atlanta and McCoy.
They're both out.
They're both hurt. They're both out for the. So Frazier.
No, I mean, I wouldn't trade him for many, to be honest, at this point, let alone, I mean, for now, I mean, not even like his career. His career looks unbelievably promising.
Yeah.
Quick Warren question. If he can't go, do you call up a back, or do you just roll with Patterson, Harris, and Hayward can get you out of a game if you'd have to?
You probably bring one up as a game day activation.
Someone that has some special team value.
Ideally, but just to be sure, because you want to run the football.
Oh yeah, right.
I mean there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. But
yeah, I would guess the third one would be valuable, especially if they can run that on kickoffs for you or something like that too.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, that could be a reason why a guy like Terrell Edmonds gets a helmet this week. You might be short a guy like that.
Yeah.
Probably, and the other part of it is that Jalen Warren's been the other guy that's been back there on kickoffs.
Yeah,
so somebody else is going to have to do
too.
that. Is that Calvin Austin under the new rules, or is that somebody else?
Well, some of those backs that were in camp did a lot of that in the preseason.
Yeah, I think Shampkin did some of that.
Definitely did some of it. I think the Georgia kid did some of that.
He's not with the team.
He's not with them, yeah. But a couple of those guys did. Maybe that would be the call.
Matt, I was looking at some things today on Pro Football Focus, and they came out they have some new stat type things here.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of introducing this.
Yeah, introducing this, introducing that. So one of the things they have here this week is we're 3 weeks into this season, and they charted missed tackles for all the teams.
Yeah.
The Steelers have missed the second fewest tackles.
I did see that one.
In the league with 16. The 49ers, the only team better at 14.
Yeah.
And people ask, well, why has the Steelers' run defense been so good? That's why.
It's a big reason. Yeah. I think Porter's become a much better tackler.
He's been outstanding on the edge.
Yeah.
And Dante Jackson's really good at it, too.
I would say Jackson, that's where I was going, is the corners on the perimeter are way better than they've been. Jackson relishes in it. I mean, he's kind of aggressive about it and throws his body around pretty good. I also think the linebackers tackle better and frankly, the speed, they get more tacklers to the ball.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a big thing as well. Their D linemen have always run well. I mean, that goes back for generations.
Run to
here.
the ball.
Yeah, they're not loafers at all, and they're not fat guys. They run well too. So no, I think that's big. I mean, obviously, a team like the Colts is going to be up there in the opposite end because they're on the field so much. I mean, that's just sheer number of missed tackles.
And they're one of the worst teams in that. Actually.
Yeah. Real quick, I mentioned this to you because I was listening to a podcast this morning where they were really looking at the top. The league is changing so much. I mean, the passing yards are down. Everyone's playing cover 2. But they did a real study. They started looking at the best offenses in the league. And what do they all have in common nowadays? And 3 aspects really stood out to this analyst. And he said, offenses that have a low sack rate, have a short average depth of target, and run after the catch are the best ones. Well, if you're not missing tackles, I'm looking from a defensive perspective, that the Steelers their pass rush is great. I mean, so teams they play are not going to have high.
They're not going to hold the ball.
Well, they're not. The sack rate's going to be bad for their offenses. I'm sure the ball's going to come out fast no matter what. You can't dictate that as a defense. But if you eliminate the after the catch stuff because you're tackling so well, it adds up to why it's a good defense too. Yeah,
for just by comparison, the Buccaneers are dead last in this. Remember, I said the Steelers had missed, 17?
17, 16? I thought you said 16.
16.
Yeah.
They've missed 16 tackles. The Buccaneers have missed a league worst 41.
Wow. I mean, who knows? But, I mean, what's an average missed tackle cost you in yardage? There might be someone right behind you.
Might be.
You might be the last guy behind them. You know what I mean? Like, that could be an 80-yarder. That could be 2-yarder.
And that was their thing, that they broke down who the best guys are.
Okay.
The best tackler by PFF tackle grade, it's safety Minkah Fitzpatrick.
Is it? That doesn't surprise me at all.
He's 15 for 15 on tackles this year and has missed less than 10% of his tackle attempts in the last 2 seasons. Even last year when people, he's not having a good year. He's shutting down the back end, you're not getting the big plays on that, the big catch and runs.
When someone does get free, getting past him as the last layer of defense is really, really difficult.
And where he's making those tackles is often they're the most difficult ones.
Oh, there's a lot of space.
Yeah.
And
it's you and a guy, and if you miss the tackle.
It's not in the phone booth.
Yeah.
Right. 100%. So I won't explain this well to our listeners, but there are a lot of you who are at camp. They have a tackling drill that the Steelers do on the sidelines where you pretty much have the numbers to the sidelines to break down and put Pickens on the ground.
Use the sideline or
funnel
funnel the guy back inside.
And they did it 2 or 3 times when we were up there, and he's by far the best on that.
Yeah.
I mean, he breaks down so well. He's so abrupt. I mean,
he
a lot of
closes so fast and then breaks down.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. He's always in phase. He's always in balance. He's a tremendous tackler.
It's like watching a Zen master work in that.
It makes it look easy.
Yeah.
Like, boy, that was a lot easier than the last guy.
Watching the kung fu,
Right.
just perfectly balanced and
all
comes
the time.
up and
and he strikes. I mean, he's not just a grab and wrap on hold cloth guy. He'll strike you.
Yeah. So that bodes well. Particularly against a team such as the Colts that want to get the ball down the field.
Not to mention, I mean, you miss
and
a tackle
on
on
the ball.
You miss a tackle on Richardson or Taylor, or they'll take it to the house. I mean, they got speed and explosiveness on that offense.
They also
where are the Colts at? I bet
they've missed like 36
because they're always on the field too, right? Which doesn't help you get off the field either.
No. They also introduced something called chip percentage.
I saw this too, which still seems low, but okay.
Which is how frequently do edge rushers get chipped.
Mm-hmm.
Not surprisingly to anybody who's ever watched a Steelers game.
I assume they define chip as that player goes into a route after making contact with a defender.
Yeah. And this is where we've gotten into this with double team rates.
Right.
Because they don't consider that a double team.
Right, because they're still going on the route.
Yeah.
But they're helping.
Or even if so they consider a double team anytime 2 offensive linemen get their hands on a player. They don't consider the tight ends and the backs double teams.
That's the ESPN double rate or whatever. Okay. Which still seems weird, but anyway.
Yeah. So TJ Watt on 84 pass rushes this year has been chipped 37 times, which is 44.05% of the time.
That adds up. I would buy that. I mean, Pitts did a lot of it.
Yeah. The next closest percentage is 22.86%.
That's crazy.
He's
double.
He's being chipped more than twice as much as anybody else.
Who's 2? I'm just curious. I did look at it, but I don't remember.
I'm sorry. Jonathan Cooper from the Broncos, who has 70 pass rushes.
Okay.
16 chips.
Wow. Who else is near the top? I mean, they're the top guys. Is it
Nick Bonito from the Broncos?
Both good pass rushers.
Max Crosby has been chipped. He has 105 pass rushes, which is crazy. 21 chips.
He never leaves the field.
So he's at 20%. Miles Garrett is at 18%, 82 pass rushes, 15 chips.
It's amazing Watt's that much higher than those guys, though.
Aiden Hutchinson's 110 pass rushes and 20 chips. They're at like 18%. He's at 44.
Wow. I'm not shocked at all that he's at 44, but I am shocked that he's that much more ahead of the field. I mean, that's pretty remarkable. Now, side note, ancillary, we've often talked about ESPN's double rate and how it's like 17%. It's like, I'm not watching the same game you are. But if it is only O linemen, rarely do guards get involved with TJ.
There are times they'll kick the tackle out and they'll slide the guard out as well to try to. They want to take away the inside move, but
where I was going to say with that is like, as great as Watt is, it shocks me. He wins to the inside much less than Garrett, Parsons, Bosa. He almost knows, like, I'm attacking your outside shoulder. And you still can't do anything about it, right?
You got somebody there chipping me as well, and you can't stop it.
And you still can't stop it, right? I mean, it's not that he's a one-trick pony. Just everyone wins differently. Like, his curveball's better than Glavin's, or you know what I mean? Like,
what I would like to see them do is add chip percentage and double percentage into one combined stat.
Right. I would love to know.
He is so much farther off the chart.
Yeah.
On this than he is. Like, I think the double team rate last year was like 30% for the leader.
Right. Which
So let's
edge
say
guys are hard to double.
right.
Like,
But let's say it was Myles Garrett, and he's at 30% on double team rate, but he's at 18% on the chip rate. So therefore, on 48% of his snaps, is he getting two guys on him?
Yeah, that's what I'd like to know too. Is call it whatever you want, but I would love to know every pass rush, how many times every pass rusher in the league
Has four hands on him.
Has two bodies.
Yeah.
In any way, shape, or form, touch him between the whistles.
Yeah.
And I bet Watts and Garrett's and all those guys is 60, 70. I mean, in reality.
Yeah.
And there's not very many pass rush snaps, especially like 3rd and 8 when everyone knows you're throwing, that it's just you're alone on that guy.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah. The one thing it does skew it, though, is there's a lot of screens, RPOs, where the ball comes out now that they have no chance to get home. They don't get doubled on those.
Yeah.
But still, it's not 30%.
No.
in terms of doubles.
It was 18% on the double team rate last year, or whatever.
Right.
It was actually 17%. He had less doubles than Alex Highsmith, which in some ways, Highsmith has that inside.
I was say, if it's only O-linemen, that could be true.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean he's not getting a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Because that's insane.
But you heard the people who were trumpeting Myles Garrett for Defensive Player of the Year. That was one of the things that he gets doubled more, twice or 14% more than T.J. Watt does. I'm like, you're not watching the game.
Yeah, that
doesn't add up.
He may get more O-line bodies on him. I would definitely buy that.
That's part of it because they move him around too.
A lot of time he even comes like from the second level through the B gaps. I mean, tight end's not going to help there.
Right.
You know what I mean? So yeah, I mean that's more usage.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't mean you get more attention.
Whereas Watts, most of the time, is coming off the edge.
It should be like the attention rate. Or
there you go.
Even do this. Watt averages 1.7 blockers for every pass rush snap. Garrett averages 1.3,
Yeah.
See?
Shouldn't be that hard to figure out.
It shouldn't be that hard to figure out.
Yeah.
And sometimes you might get 3 bodies touching you. That's not.
I've seen that before, too.
Yeah, they both get that.
Running back, tight end, and an offensive tackle.
Offensive lineman, right?
Yeah.
Or late in the play, another offensive time. Like 5 seconds in, you get blocked by a lot of dudes.
Yeah. I mean, how often do you see when Watt does go inside, it looks like they're playing Red Rover, and the 2 offensive linemen have like locked hands around his waist and things like that. Like
we don't talk about it with D tackles much, but like Aaron Donald has to be.
Oh, they get doubled all the time.
All the time. I mean, like every pass rush snap.
If
Chris
you're not,
Jones, Aaron Jones,
shame on you.
Right.
It's too easy.
There's a guard in the center.
Yeah.
Get them. Right.
You're not leaving those guys one-on-one.
No.
That's why this chip rate is just for edge rushers.
Which is interesting in its own right.
Yeah.
Because that also means that player went out on a route.
Right.
So it's some sort of help.
Slowing somebody down from going out on a route. 37 times.
Yeah. I mean, double the percentage number 2 to me is what's bonkers.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, huge. I mean,
but it adds up. I mean, when you watch the games, that's how teams try to deal with them.
Yeah, for example, like Micah Parsons has 86 pass rushes, which is 2 more than Watt. So they're very comparable.
Yeah.
He's been chipped 14 times.
Wow.
23 times less than Watt.
So this isn't a knock on the Steelers' defense. But another thing that's different about Watt than all these other elite edge guys is he comes from the same spot every time.
Around.
They all move around, which might make it harder to chip them and certainly harder to double at times. Like, that's why they do it with Chris Jones.
Yeah.
Like Donald, you knew he was coming between the tackles somewhere. Jones will even line up. Like, he even, picks his guys. Like, you think he tells the other D lineman, like, I want that bum right there. I'm going to knock him out. Right. But the fact that Watt
probably tells the guy as he walks, I wanted you this
I want
time.
you, right. I think that's exactly what he does. He points right at him. Like, the left guard stinks. I'm going on him. Right.
Yeah, you stink. I'm coming over you.
But I do think it's an advantage or a disadvantage to Watt, which, again, raves about his productivity, that he's coming from the same spot every snap.
But I think part of that is because the other guys on their pass rush are good.
Yeah, and he must be more comfortable there.
Yeah, well,
it must be a Watt
That's why they made the move.
Yeah.
His rookie year, he was on the other side, and they made that move because Watt does like to come from the front side.
Yeah.
Way more, and it's not that he wouldn't be effective coming off.
Oh,
the
I'm sure
backside.
it'd be fine. But I mean, it's probably as simple as I often attack their outside shoulder, and I'd rather do it with my right arm than left.
Yeah,
it works.
That duck under that he has, that little ghost move.
Yeah.
I mean, he just disappears.
But like Herbig uses that from both sides.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't make him better or worse, of course.
Right.
But I mean, it's not a left tackle, right tackle thing for pass rushers.
No. Let's get to a break. He is the Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, every once in a while we like to take a look at the offensive line rankings on Pro Football Focus. There's some other places we do this as well. Some other guys that we use. But I was just on Pro Football Focus, so let's take a look at their offensive line rankings through the first 3 games of the season, see where the Steelers are at, see where the Colts are at.
All right.
Yeah, know your opponent. So looking at the bottom of this right now.
There's some bad ones out there.
32 is the New England Patriots.
They're just lacking talent, too. Like, I think they're going to have to find a big-time pass catcher and several linemen this offseason.
Yeah, at least 3.
And tackle in particular, too,
Yeah.
the hard spots.
At 31 are the Titans. They did not fix their offensive line.
No, it's not getting much better. I mean, the right side is just lacking talent. Left side's kind of young and not great, but I thought it'd be a lot better by now. I mean, Cushenberry, Skoronski, Latham should be a pretty good 3.
Yeah, I mean, Latham's young. Skoronski, though, just hasn't.
He fought some injuries last year, and he was injured all through camp, and he was one of those getting on a moving train type guys. But he hasn't been great.
At 30 is the Raiders.
That's a little disappointing if you're them. You know, they have a little bit more invested in that, but I don't think it's great either.
Yeah, Jackson Powers-Johnson at guard has not been what I thought he would. I think I liked him more as a center.
Oh, I did too.
As a guard,
Right. And a lot of those guys, though, too, they'll put them at guard their rookie year.
For a year.
Just because it's so much thought process at center. Which
taking
makes
some stuff off the plate.
Yeah, exactly. Just worry about blocking, and then you can do line calls next year, which makes Frazier that much more impressive.
At 29 is Jacksonville.
It's crumbling. It always seems like they put stuff into it, and it's not good enough.
They spent money on that.
I say they went and got Morse, and they've used some picks. It should not be that low.
They spent money on Scherf. They spent money on Cam Robinson.
Yeah.
It's
not great.
No. 28 is Cincinnati, which for them, and that's before
the injury,
the Trent Brown injury.
I always thought their interior was a little overrated too. I mean, those guys are fine, but they're not difference makers. But they were upgrades at the time because the line was so bad when Burrow got there.
Yeah.
You and I have thought Orlando Brown's one of the more overrated tackles in the league to begin with, and certainly overpaid.
Yeah. You wanted to me, one of the biggest reasons why the Bengals don't have a win right now, aside from the defense being really bad, is they still haven't fixed their offensive line.
No, and Burrow gets hit a lot. They don't open huge holes. I mean,
you can't protect your quarterback. No. It's really hard to win.
It is.
At 27, how about this one? The Cleveland Browns.
Wow.
That's down 17
That's how they're playing.
Spots. Because right now, here's their line right now.
Okay.
Joel Bitonio is playing left tackle.
Wow. He was a tackle in college. He's one of those Zach Martin tackle guard.
Yeah.
Right.
Ethan Posick.
I didn't realize he's playing left tackle.
Ethan Posick at left guard. Nick Harris at center.
And Posick's a center, too. That's 2 guys out of position.
Zach Zinner at right guard. He barely played. Barely played last year at Michigan because of an injury. And Dawan Jones at right tackle.
Wow. Not at all what they planned.
One bit.
Right. I mean, some of the guys, Posick would have been the center. Bitonio would have been a guard. But they're not in the right spots either.
No, and
it shows. They stink. I mean, they've been bad all year.
Yeah, Jedrick Willis, you mentioned earlier in the week, came back and started that game last week for the Browns.
It was horrible.
Left again with an injury.
What, no, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. And Conklin's been in and out. Right.
Yeah. 26 is the Giants.
They put some investment in there, too, with Runyon and Michael Schmitz lately. The biggest problem for them is they use a top 10 pick on Neal, and he's bad.
Yeah, he's not even starting now.
Right. Is Illuminor the right tackle?
Illuminor's the right tackle.
Yeah.
25 is the Seahawks.
They were really bad last year, and I don't know. Do they have Connor Williams in as a starter?
He's a starter.
I didn't
center.
know if he was back. Okay.
Yeah, he's starting at center.
Cross is a really good player, though. The left tackle, the right tackle, they all lump those two together. They shouldn't.
Yeah. 24 is the Rams, and they've been just beaten
I'd have
up.
them lower. I mean, the guys they're playing with are backups at this point.
But at least they're holding their own as
I
opposed
guess
to
they're
some of these
playing
other
better
ones.
than like the Browns.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, their performance has been better.
23 is the Cardinals.
Yeah, good for them. I mean, it's starting to trend the right direction. They've put some resources in there too. Paris Johnson looks like he's going to be a good one. And
Yeah. 22 is the Saints.
a lot of people had them at like 30, 32 to start the season.
Yeah. That might be where they end up at now.
With the center injury.
With McCoy hurt, yeah.
That would worry me. But the new scheme helps a lot.
21. Down 10 spots after what happened last week are the Chargers.
Well, if Alton and Slater aren't there, then yes.
Well, that's still considering Alt coming back this week, but
he's questionable right now.
That's Trey Pipkins at left tackle, Zion Johnson, Bradley Bozeman, Jamari Saylor.
Yeah.
And then Joe Alt at right tackle.
I mean, Pipkins should be there. That's two positions that get affected by one injury, and that's assuming Alt plays.
20, the Bears.
Ooh, I'd be lower on them. Who's their center?
Coleman Shelton.
I think that's like the worst center situation in the league. Them in Denver.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
They get no push up the middle.
19. This is up 5 spots. Are the Ravens.
It's gotten a little better, but
It's
mostly
still 19.
because I would have them lower. I mean, I think it went up 5 spots because they ran so well against a bad run defense.
Yeah. That's Ronnie Stanley, Andrew Voorhees, Tyler Linderbaum, Daniel Falele, and Patrick McCarry.
Okay, they don't consider Rosengarten a starter.
No.
Was it you that's saying they had 2 or 3 on the injury list this week?
Two of those guys were hurt yesterday. Voorhees and Linderbaum both missed practice, as did McCarry.
Okay.
Today, Linderbaum and McCarry were back.
Gotcha.
So
Stanley's actually played pretty well. I mean, not like pre-injury Stanley, but he's been a strength more than a weakness.
That's why they've had the opportunity to play McCarry at right tackle.
Right tackle, yeah.
Yeah. It's better.
But yes, Stanley, let's see if he can do it for 14 more games, too. He's been in our lineup so much since that injury.
19 is Houston.
I like it on paper.
I'm sorry, 18, I should say, is Houston.
On paper, I think it's a strong line.
At 17.
Didn't look good against Minnesota, though.
No, it did not. 17 is the Steelers.
I'd say that's about right for how they've played, all the shuffling they've had to do. Are the 5 starters correct for this week?
Right now it's Moore, Anderson, Frazier, Daniels, Broderick Jones. So, yes, that would be the...
Yeah, that's a middle-of-the-league line right there.
Now, when you bring, say, Amalu back into the equation...
I'd move it up 3 or 4 spots at least, at that point. And we'll see where Broderick's at.
Here's what they had to say.
Had some injuries.
The Steelers lost rookie Troy Fautanu to a regular season dislocated kneecap in practice. As a result, second-year offensive tackle Broderick Jones is back in the starting lineup at right tackle and earned a 51.2 overall grade, the lowest score of the Pittsburgh offensive line. Rookie center Zach Frazier played the best game of his young career in the win over the Chargers. Frazier was especially dominant in the run game with his 91.3 PFF run blocking grade, ranked third among all offensive linemen.
Wow.
In the NFL in Week 3.
All linemen.
Yeah.
Wow.
Best player right now is James Daniels. Daniels continues in strong form in Week 3 against Los Angeles. His 93.3 PFF overall grade leads all guards after 3 weeks.
Okay. He's been rock solid.
Yeah. Keep him going, get Sayamalu back in the lineup.
Well, then the interior becomes a real strength.
Yeah.
A real strength,
yeah. And I also might add that they color code their guys here. That if you're in blue, that means you're well above average or whatever.
Blue chip type guy, yeah.
Yeah. Dan Moore.
They have him in blue?
Is in blue now.
Really?
Along with James Daniels.
Okay. He's had a good year.
Yeah.
He really has.
16, the Atlanta Falcons.
It's a little disappointing. But
they
did lose their center,
starting
as we mentioned.
Storm Norton at right tackle.
Yeah, that's a problem.
And then Ryan Newsel, who's left-handed, by the way, too.
Oh, yeah.
At center.
Again, their starting 5 is really good. Those guys aren't. I mean, they need depth at that position.
Yeah.
They just don't have it.
At 15, the Vikings.
Okay. Tackles are great.
14 is San Francisco.
They benefit from scheme a little bit. We haven't mentioned Miami yet. Miami should be really low.
They should be low.
Yeah.
13, Washington.
They should be lower than that, too.
Yeah.
The offense has been really good, and the O-line hasn't been exposed, but there's not – I don't
They
want any of those.
They played some bad run defenses, too.
They do, and I don't really want many of those players.
No. 12 is Tampa Bay.
Yeah, but it's starting to fall apart again. I mean, Barton looked great, but now that the regular season's hit, he's come back to earth a little.
Yeah.
The guards aren't great. They had all kinds of problems with Denver.
True or false, by the end of this season, people will look at Zach Frazier as the best center in this draft.
True.
I think so, too.
Yeah. I mean, he's been that impressive.
I mean, Powers Johnson isn't playing center.
Right.
But,
True.
At 11 is Denver.
Okay. Not a bad group. We talked about them a lot, obviously, 2 weeks ago.
10 is Miami.
I don't see that at all.
I don't either.
I mean, 4 of those starters are bad, and the other one's always hurt.
Yeah, but
I mean,
according
Jensen's
to this,
not bad.
4 of their starters are in blue.
Really? Yeah, I don't see it.
9 is Dallas.
I don't see that either. Their guards are the best in the league. But the 2 rookies have had ups and downs. And the right tackle, Steele, he's probably overpaid too. He's just a guy.
Yeah. No, TJ Watt will get an opportunity to take him behind the woodshed next week.
Indeed.
At 8, Carolina.
Yeah. I mean, they actually paid for it, and that wasn't the problem early in the year.
No.
There were holes. There was protection.
They weren't completing passes.
They weren't completing passes or putting the ball where it needs to go.
We're going to see some of the team that can't complete passes this week.
Yeah. We haven't mentioned them yet either.
7, Green Bay.
Yeah. Whoever their O-line coach is really good because they get 4th-round guys like Zach Tom, and they just kind of put it all together, and they're a quality unit, every year.
6 is the Jets.
Okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Now, they did just lose Morgan Moses.
Yeah, but at least they can put the 1st-round pick in there and, be okay for now.
5 is Philadelphia.
It shouldn't be in the top 2 or 3 anymore.
No, it's not.
But
it's not as dominant. I mean, Mekhi Becton is
Yeah. Lane Johnson's still a star. The center's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, with Kelsey being out.
4. This is too high for this line. I'm sorry. Kansas City.
Tackles are still a problem.
The interior is very
Really
good. It might be
Yeah.
the best interior in the league.
I'd have the Eagles
All
ahead of
3
them.
guys. But the you can't be that bad at tackle and be the 4th best line in the league. They're now starting Wanya Morris at left tackle.
Right. See,
And they can't get Juwan Taylor out of the lineup because the left tackle is such a problem for him.
and Taylor's expensive. I mean, he was a bad free agent purchase.
He's terrible.
He's bad, right. Siamata is a work in progress, which they knew when they drafted him. So you referenced that sometimes we look at other lists. Brandon Thorne is one of the best out there. I trust him more than this list, flat out. But he will also put, like the Vikings are a great example. They would get a little more of a boost from him because tackles are more important and harder to come by.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I bet the Chiefs would be a little lower because he would rather have the 2 Viking tackles maybe than 3 stars on the inside. Because if he can leave them on an island against the Watts of the world or even the Highsmiths of the world, that's really, really valuable.
Yeah.
And he can get guards and centers.
No, this is that is more of a Patrick Mahomes stat there.
Yeah.
Than it is that offensive line.
Agreed.
Their tackles might be the 2 worst tackles.
It's pretty bad.
Per the dollar, anyways, for sure.
And we talk about this all the time. Sacks are as much of a quarterback stat than it is. And Mahomes, and we even mentioned the Bills. Allen's been great at avoiding sacks.
Well, they're number 3.
Okay.
And they're
good across the board.
Yeah,
they're not great anywhere. They're good across the board.
But they're above average in some spots and at least average in
I'm almost certain they lead the league in 6 offensive linemen, too. I mean, guys like Spencer Brown keep getting better. Torrance keeps getting better. Yeah, they're a good group.
At 2 is Detroit.
A little bit of injuries now.
But Ragnow is week to week.
Mm-hmm. Playing with a strained pec, I think.
Yeah, partially torn pectoral muscle. Okay. That's what was sidelining Sayamalu. So.
Mm-hmm. I don't think they have any other injuries, though.
And then 1, the team that we haven't mentioned yet, is the team the Steelers play this week. That's the Indianapolis Colts.
What do they say about the Colts?
The Colts' offensive line was again playing at a high level in the team's Week 3 win over the Bears. The unit allowed just 4 pressures, 1 sack, 1 quarterback hit, and 2 hurries on 22 dropbacks. Well, first of all, it was only 22 dropbacks.
Right.
Left tackle Bernard Raymond surrendered one quarterback hurry in Week 3, and his 83.4 PFF pass blocking grade ranked 6th among left tackles. The third-year player is allowing a pressure on 5.8% of his dropbacks this season, which is tied for the best rate of his career.
Whoever their O-line coach has done a good job, too, because he was a project. The right tackle, Smith, who's questionable, started at guard, and then they moved him to tackle, and he's been pretty good. Anyone could coach Quentin Nelson.
Is it wrong for this? So I'm watching their game against Chicago.
Mm-hmm. I also think Chicago's D-line isn't great.
That's that part of it.
Yeah.
But I'm watching Quentin Nelson, and again, I've watched the Alan Fanekas and
I don't think he's that guy either.
He's not. He is not the be-all, end-all at guard.
I don't know if he's even a top 5 guy. I think he's good.
I think
he's never been bad.
At this point, it's more reputation than
and that
anything
happens
else.
That position all the time.
Yeah.
He's not. Again,
I don't see him. He's not out there killing guys.
No.
He's a nice positional blocker, and he does all that stuff the right way.
100%.
But in terms of for a guy that big, not to just drive, like watching Frazier play and drive people into the ground, when you see Quentin Nelson play, you expect to see that, and you don't.
See, I think this is what happened in Nelson's career is he was a phenomenal prospect. A guard that goes in the top 6 or 7, and he deserved it. Like he was a no-brainer slam dunk pick. Came in the league and lived up to it for 2 or 3 years, got hurt, and had a bad year that year as he fought injuries.
Yeah.
And then since then, he's been good.
It's been more reputation than anything else.
Okay, you go to the Pro Bowl, but you're not an all-pro.
Yeah.
Faneca and Hutch were all pros.
He's not Zach Martin.
No. Right.
He's not Lindstrom.
No, agreed. I think he's a top 10 guy, not a top 2 guy.
Yeah, but that's where he ends up at every year. And you thought, I can't wait to see Quentin Nelson. I'm watching, I'm like,
big Notre Dame strapping dude that looks like
he's huge.
Yeah, he looks like a Coke machine.
Yeah.
He's got that square build.
And again, I'm not saying he's bad.
No, he's not bad at all. He's worth the money. And
I just want to see more.
Right.
I want to see him do more. I'm like, they don't even run behind him sometimes.
It's a high bar, but he's not a Hall of Famer to me.
He probably will end up being that because
10 years in the league or 12 years in the league, and
he'll have that reputation. But I just don't feel like he's not at the level of those other guys.
No, some of the great guards in history. No. It's like, wow. Look what that guy.
I've seen a lot of those guys play in person, and I left out watching that tape going, he was good.
Mm-hmm.
Not, and maybe that's why when Cam Hayward has played against him,
he's winning.
Yeah.
Again, he's a good player. But I'll take DeCastro over him.
Yeah.
That isn't going to end up in the Hall
Even
of Fame,
when he was younger, I'd take Zeitler over a younger Kevin Zeitler over him.
Mm-hmm.
Not now. I think Zeitler's still playing to his credit, but he's older.
Right. Yeah.
But I saw those guys play a lot because Zeitler was in Cincinnati, then Baltimore, and now Detroit.
I'm glad you brought that up with Nelson, and I'm not sure they'd be my number 1 line either, but they wouldn't be far off.
No, they ran the ball effectively, and they're
There was 3 or 4 times this week we were talking about their O-line, and I meant to say something similar. Like, he's a really good player, but he's not like never gets beat.
Oh, you're never going to beat him, yeah.
Or 4th and 1, it's automatic. Just run behind him. He's good, but he's not the best I've ever seen.
No, I think Hayward 100% negates.
I think he has the advantage.
Yeah.
If they square off 1-on-1 60 times, I bet Cam wins more of them.
I had just thought, I was watching the Steelers went through their walkthrough at the indoor facility yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
And it just so happened that Pitt was on the field finishing up their practice in their bye week.
Okay.
So Hayward walks in. He's walking over. He's kind of next to me as we're walking back over. And he goes walking into the facility. And I start looking around at the Pitt guys, and I'm like, they don't have anybody that looks like that.
Not even close. Full-grown man strength.
Yeah.
That you just get with age, too.
Yeah.
And he came in the league having a lot of it. And his daddy, who went to Pitt, has there's some genes involved, too. Right.
You don't understand how big that guy is until you stand next to him.
Right.
Like, he is, again, I'm around big people all the time.
And sometimes guys stand out,
Yeah. Guys, to be that tall, that thick, and yet still, have the strength. And then, as you mentioned previously, his ability to run to the ball
hasn't changed much.
I think I've told the story before. I was at training camp, and this was when Stephon Tuitt was still playing. and Le'Veon Bell. And Le'Veon Bell caught a pass in the flat on my side of the field where I was standing, and I'm standing right along the sideline.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts running down the sideline, and I look up, and Hayward and Tuitt are running after him.
Yeah,
they're coming, and they're coming right at me. They're going to try to cut him off.
You can feel the.
And I look up, I'm like, this is what the little baby dinosaurs had to feel like.
Yeah, it feels like a herd of buffalo coming at you.
They're coming.
Right.
They're running at full speed right at me, and I'm like, I better start moving backwards.
You better.
If they run through this, because
I mean, you can feel the ground.
Yeah,
like people don't realize that. It's never been on a sideline at an NFL game or whatever. You can feel the ground.
I mean, that was 650 pounds of human being coming at me.
Yeah, right.
As fast as they could.
But that's a Steeler trait too.
Yeah.
Cam's going to pass that down to Tuitt, and now the others.
That's what was so disappointing about Tuitt's whole situation and the way everything ended for him. He was just reaching the point.
He was getting really good.
Where he might have been. There was an argument that maybe he might be better than Cam.
I think he's more talented.
Yeah.
I mean, he was more gifted at birth.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
but pretty good influence on him too.
Yeah, absolutely.
He'd still be around in his prime right now too. Right.
They'd still be pretty scary.
You probably wouldn't have Ogunjobi, but you might have taken Benton.
Yeah.
You might have the rest of the crew still.
Let's get to a break. That was the offensive line rankings on PFF. He is Matt Williamson. I am Dale Lolley. You're listening to The Drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We'll be back with more right after this. And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson, and this is The Drive on Steelers Nation Radio. And, of course, we are on every day from 4 to 6 p.m. right here, Monday through Friday on the Steelers Nation Radio. We're also on demand on the podcast. You can do that, get that on the Steelers official mobile app. If you don't have that already, download it.
Takes 2 seconds.
All kinds of goodies on there.
Oh, yeah, your 10 thoughts are on there. My stat thing goes up there. You have a lot of stuff up there, but right.
Every day of the week allows you to get involved in the Inge chat stuff. You get a chance to win some prizes and things of that nature. There's
we
a lot
filmed
of
a
cool
video
stuff
today. It's going to be up there any minute, I'm sure, too.
Absolutely. And I think this week's Yin's Chat prize is a signed ball by somebody who would be our guest later in the show.
I thought
Nick
of that
Herbig.
whenever we were on the air today. We were videoing. I'm like, we're going to talk to him later.
Yeah, I mentioned to Nick today. Good thing I did, because initially he was supposed to come on with us for this segment, 4:45. And I said, Nick, I wanted to check with you and make sure you're still good for 4:45. He goes, 5:45. I'm like, ooh. And I went and checked with PR, and they're like, yeah, we had to move it to 5:45.
We weren't informed, I guess,
because he has to lift and do some things. So
okay, so for an hour from now, we'll give him. He'll be calling in.
He'll be calling in, so you'll hear from Nick Herbig, who will get his first career start.
Yeah.
On Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm actually looking forward to seeing him
very much so
on a more regular basis, because this is a guy who, in the past 2 preseasons, he's led everybody in sacks in the last 2 preseasons.
Oh, has he really? That doesn't surprise me one bit, but that's I mean, in the second preseason, you already knew who he was. He didn't need like a ton of snaps, and it doesn't matter. He every time he's out there, he makes plays.
He just beats somebody,
and I think they'll be fine on the edge. I mean, that's not a knock on Highsmith. Always a really, really good player.
No, Highsmith and Highsmith to me is the better run defender, and better. He's just more polished and knows the defense. But when you're talking number 3s in the league,
oh, it's crazy.
He might be the best one.
Yeah, and I'm also excited a little bit more Leal too as an edge. In a real game. And one thing Highsmith does well that I bet Herbig does too, and so does Watt. And Leal won't. It's not his bag. But they drop into coverage well. Yeah, and they have a good feel for it.
Leal has dropped.
I know he has.
He's done it.
It's not going to be a special.
When he did that, when he was filling in for Watt 2 years ago, when Watt was in and out of the lineup, he actually had 3 pass defenses.
Did he really? Maybe I'm selling him short because I think of him as an interior D lineman turned edge.
It's funny, Terrell Austin addressed the media today, the Steelers defensive coordinator, and was asked about Leal. And he said, the thing about DeMarvin is that he just considers himself a great athlete. He said, I guarantee you right now, if we were going to go play a pickup basketball game, DeMarvin would want to be the point guard.
Okay.
He just views himself. He's a big man and he's a little man in a big man's body,
and has some of that movement stuff too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a really highly recruited guy. Came into A&M, made a lot of impact right away. He was on all those first round draft lists early in his career there, that type of thing. So.
But he was still 20 when the Steelers drafted him.
Yeah. I kind of feel like he's growing into his paws
a
little bit too.
Yeah.
So kind of why I want to see more of him is because this might be the best role for him, and we're getting an extended look at him. The extended look at Herbig is going to be great.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't expect him to get a pressure and sack 50% of his snaps now.
No, as we mentioned, Raymond is good.
He is good. He's another developmental guy that's really turned into a good player.
The only thing, when Raymond was coming out, and of course the Steelers were looking at tackles.
We talked about him quite a bit,
Was the only thing I didn't like about him was that he was 25 already.
I would say he was old.
Now that's not even you don't even worry about that. This was like at the beginning of COVID.
And the problem, doubling it up, was he's raw and he's old.
Yeah.
So I can't start him year one. I'm going to need to develop him. Might be the end of his contract by the time I can use him. But he's very useful right now.
To his credit, he was faster into the lineup
quick.
Than that. Yeah.
And now he's a top. He's definitely top half of the league left tackle.
Yeah. So good for him.
But that'll be a challenge.
Yeah, it's going to be a big
Nick.
challenge for Nick. But I also think that Herbig's speed, and it's one of the things that I loved about him when he was at Wisconsin. The motor just goes.
He's very sudden. He changes directions really well. He's agile. He's light on his feet, and he never ever stops.
And as we've seen at training camp, he is on T.J. Watt's hip all the time. It's like a lamprey.
Is it Wisconsin connection? I mean, I think they knew each other well before the draft too. I'm sure Watt was consulted. What's this kid like? And I'm sure it obviously vouched for him, or he wouldn't be here.
Yeah. So. I think this could be a big chance for him, a big opportunity, and be interesting to see what he does with this over the next couple of weeks. Again, the first opportunity to start. You never forget that first start. And
no.
I had an opportunity to talk to his parents because they had also, of course, that offseason signed his brother Nate.
Yeah, right.
And so I contacted his mom and dad and had a great talk with them. Great people living in Hawaii, and one of the things that they were able to do because of COVID again, and his mom is in education, they were able to move to Wisconsin, to Madison, Wisconsin, when he was in college, and go to all of his games. And then when the brothers were both in Pittsburgh, they were able to then come to Pittsburgh as well. But just a great family, great upbringing, and I'm
excited to talk to him. More excited to even watch him.
Yeah, absolutely. So
if I were the Colts, I mean, this is what you do with all new guys. I'm running that 260-pound quarterback right at him. I'm running that 230-pound back right at him. I might try to get Nelson on a little pull on him. I'm going to challenge him in the run game.
Well, they're going to challenge him,
yeah.
But they better block him on pass sets.
That I know he can do.
Yeah. And you would assume, because T.J. Watt's on the other side, he's going to get a lot of one-on-ones.
Oh, I would assume so. And they're going to trust that left tackle, who's a pretty good player.
And I just wonder, because there's not a ton of tape on him, is that, that could bode well in the Steelers' favor.
Sure. Yeah, his pass rush arsenal, he has that ghost move, too. Obviously he learned it from Watt. Might not see that coming, right?
Absolutely. But, Matt, that's going to do it for hour number 1 of the drive here on the Steelers Audio Network. We're going to take a break. Matt and I will be back with hour number 2 right after this. Welcome back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And it is time here at the start of hour number 2 for the Fantasy Football Focus. And it being Thursday, Matt, let's take a look at the injury reports from today around the league. Evan Ingram for the Jaguars with that hamstring. Still not practicing on Thursday. That does not look promising for him.
That's a bigger deal in the real world than people give him credit for. He was the most targeted tight end in the league last year. He's been a safety valve for a team that could use – someone needs to throw them a life preserver. Yeah. I mean, they're drowning quick.
Yeah, that's troublesome. Tank Bigsby with the shoulder injury, limited again on Thursday. At least he was limited.
He's looked good. He's played well, but they could use him too. ATN should not be an every down back.
Dalton Schultz with the ankle injury upgraded to a full participant on Thursday for the Houston Texans.
Okay. He's a quality player, of course.
That is meaningful because you're not going to like this. Nico Collins with a hamstring was added to the injury report on Thursday.
And I know Dell's still dealing with some stuff too, so that's certainly one to monitor. Nico's the one that stirs the drink.
If Nico can't play and Dell is sidelined, which he still is, he's not practicing today either. All of a sudden, Dalton Schultz is kind of a sneaky tight end start this week.
I'm not sure Diggs is ready to be, high volume guy for several weeks in a row.
Yeah.
One game, fine, but not 15 targets for a couple weeks in a row.
We do our DFS lineup tomorrow. We might want to remember Mr. Schultz.
Schultz, yeah, makes sense. Who are they playing again?
They're playing Jacksonville.
Yeah. I knew it was a good matchup.
Yeah. Skylar Thompson with the rib injury was limited on Thursday. They don't play till Monday.
Do they prefer him over Huntley? I know
They
Huntley's,
seem to.
They sure seem to. Yeah.
I mean, he's been in the system longer. I get it. But
Huntley doesn't fit the system at all either. But,
yeah.
So it's what you got.
Teron Armstead with the concussion missed practice on Thursday.
He's not going to play then.
Well, again, they play Monday, so they get the extra day there.
Okay, so that's a Wednesday for them.
Yeah. Raheem Mostert was limited in practice on Thursday for them as well with that chest injury.
Mm-hmm. I don't think that's real promising from what I understood.
Jeffrey Simmons with an elbow injury was sidelined in practice on Thursday for the Tennessee Titans. That is significant. They play.
Who do
they play Miami this week.
Yeah. In one of the leagues I stream defense every week, I picked them up because they're playing Miami.
But he's their best player. He's their best player in that defense. He stuffs the run well. He's their Cam Hayward. He plays the run well, and he can rush the passer.
Yep.
And if he's not out there, that
one of the only
defense,
few things they've done well all year, right?
They're a little toothless.
They are. Actually, Sweat's played okay next to him.
Yeah.
We'll see how he holds up, but
Jamar Chase with that shoulder injury had a full practice today. So crisis
like
avoided there.
Woods, yeah.
Bijan Robinson with a shoulder injury was a limited participate on Thursday. This is a new addition to the injury report.
Definitely worrisome. I mean, that's the beauty of having an Algier. I mean, if you're the Falcons, it might not be terrible to rest them 1 week.
It's a big rivalry game though with the Saints this week.
I'd say it's a needed one.
At the same time, Algier's good.
I'd say he's fine. I mean, you can still beat the Saints with him. He's not the same guy, but
it may be a situation where instead of giving Bijan Robinson 20 touches in this game, he gets 12 to 15.
That sounds logical.
Yeah. And maybe it's just primarily as a pass catcher as opposed to running between the tackles and things of that nature.
So you said
let Algier do
too,
that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate hearing shoulders with running backs.
Yeah. Deebo Samuel with the calf injury was seen practicing on Thursday.
Okay.
We don't have the practice report yet.
Yeah. Okay. Well, keep an eye on
it. Brian Branch with that concussion officially limited on Thursday, so that's a good sign for him and the Lions that he's at least back out there. They got Seattle this week. They need him on the field.
So they've had a lot of injuries too.
Yeah.
I mean, the corner they traded for, Davis, has not played particularly well. Davenport went on IR. So the defense has some concerns.
Yeah. Taysom Hill with the chest. Another full practice on Thursday, so it looks like he is on schedule to be back this week for that game against the Falcons.
Yeah. I think I asked you yesterday. I mean, I don't know if he'd be my top 12 tight ends, but he's in the neighborhood.
Well, here's the thing. So Alvin Kamara has the hip and rib injuries. Yesterday he didn't practice. He was upgraded to limited today.
I wonder if Hill's short yardage goal line guy now.
That's what I'm thinking because they've been running Kamara, especially with Hill banged up a little bit here.
That's resulted in a lot of touchdowns.
They get down inside the 5-yard line. Hill's getting the football.
Yeah. I actually have Hill in one league, and I have Goddard. So I probably will play Goddard.
Yeah,
but
ride the hot hand.
Yeah, with all their receivers out. But still, Hill would be in consideration for a starter for me in a lot of leagues.
Yeah, as we mentioned, Najee Harris practiced in full today. I don't know where all this stuff.
He was seen in a sling.
He was seen in a sling. Right. Oh my goodness! And Mike Tomlin never mentioned him. In fact, he was asked about him at his press conference on Tuesday and said, "No, he's good to go."
Yeah.
Like, all this. Oh, look out! Najee Harris might not play this week. I'm like, what are you talking about?
He's ready to roll. Yeah.
Roma Dunze with a hip injury.
Oh, wow.
Added to the Thursday injury report.
Okay. He's had a really good game, and he's starting to kind of break out.
Yeah. Keenan Allen with that heel, limited again on Thursday. I wonder if he plays this week or this is the ramp-up period.
Yeah, not great. He hasn't played yet for him, right?
Because he hasn't played yet this season. So I just wonder if he needs like a full week. He can't be limited, and then play on Sunday.
No, that adds up. Maybe next week.
David Njoku returned to practice on Thursday with that ankle injury.
Boy, they could use something to invigorate that offense.
Yeah, don't know if he was limited or if it was full participation, but certainly.
Would you start Njoku over Hill? Coming back off an injury that he could re-aggravate, but he's needed.
Do you trust Watson to throw him the ball?
No. I don't trust Wilson to do anything. But they need somebody to help.
Do you
the
trust
offense.
the Browns' offensive line to protect them to do anything?
No, that's kind of why I bring it up.
Yeah. I don't
know if I'm immediately throwing him back in my lineup, even though tight end's rough right now.
Lane Johnson with a concussion was back at practice on Thursday for the Philadelphia Eagles. However, Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown.
I don't think either one's going to play.
Yeah, Devontae Smith has a concussion. Again, he has to at least get it limited in before he can be cleared. And A.J. Brown still has that hamstring. And as he said a few weeks ago, it's going to be a few weeks. Well,
I think Josh Dotson has one target this year.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's the answer. Goddard and Barkley, I think.
Yeah, a lot of Barkley.
Yeah.
Jerome Ford with the knee injury returned to practice on Thursday for the Cleveland Browns.
That's fine, but I think he's losing touches to Foreman.
Yeah. The Bengals. B.J. Hill, one of their, and they need him.
He's starting defensive tackle.
Starting defensive tackle.
Been a weak spot.
He has a hamstring. He missed practice on Thursday. So did Sheldon Rankins, their other starting defensive tackle. This is why they can't stop the run. And, oh, by the way, Trey Hendrickson, with an illness, also missed practice on Thursday.
Okay. I mean, illness is so vague, who knows? But usually if missing a practice because of illness, they usually heal by then.
He was dealing with an injury in-game, though, the other day.
Was he?
They were only bringing him in on pass rush down.
I mean, he's far and away their most important guy on defense. But to be frank, I mean, if Hill and Rankins aren't in there, you still shouldn't be that bad on defense. You know
shouldn't
what I mean?
Be, but
they drafted Chris Jenkins. He must not be ready.
Yeah. Sam Laporta with the ankle injury missed practice on Thursday.
Okay, I didn't think that one was trending in the right direction.
No,
from what I heard.
that was diagnosed as a low ankle sprain after last week's game, but they don't play until Monday. So,
that's
dicey.
What do you do if you're an owner?
I don't think you can, unless you'll have some kind of designation Saturday for the Monday night game. So,
I mean, you can wait to make your decision or pick someone up Saturday, but I'm not hanging by the edge of my on the edge of my seat if he's a game time decision.
He's not done much to begin with.
No, he hasn't. He's been really disappointing. Him and Kelsey both for being as high picks as they were.
Yeah. Jordan Love with the knee injury practiced in pads on Thursday. So
Good.
We'll see what that
sounds
leads
promising.
To.
Yeah.
Joe Mixon, once again, with that ankle injury, missed practice on Thursday, as did Damian Pierce. So it looks like Cam Akers against that Jacksonville run defense.
I guess he's a starter.
I mean, we started them last week, and it just wasn't good.
It was real bad.
Yeah.
Like, I actually have I forget his first name, Steele from the Chiefs, Carson Steele or Akers decisions kicking around my head. I don't trust either, but Steele's in a better situation. But Akers is not much competition.
There's no competition for Akers.
Right.
And with all the pass catchers hurt, Tank Dell again missed practice today. Maybe they just lean on the running game.
Yeah, that could be. Not a bad call.
And they just might blow Jacksonville out of the water.
After coming off a bad loss to Minnesota, I think Houston's going to win big.
And I'll say this, Steele's going to be going against that Chargers defense that we just saw last week. The Steelers had a tough time running the ball against them.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
Those guys attack the line. Maybe they won't attack the line of scrimmage quite as heavily as they did last week, but
yeah, I had Akers in lineups last week, and we had him in DFS. Just kind of left a bad taste in your mouth,
Yeah,
but
Vikings defense just might be pretty good.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's really good.
Kalijah Kancey remained absent from practice on Thursday for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as did Antoine Winfield.
Okay. And Veo was out last week too.
Yeah, that's two of their best guys on defense. That's, again, when you look at how did Denver knock them off? I'm like, well, if I'd have known they were going to be missing maybe their best three defensive guys,
players, right?
I might have changed my thoughts on that game a little bit.
And it might break some ties for fantasy if who to start and who not to.
Yeah,
Vea's really important.
Vita Vea did practice today, so that's a good sign.
That goes a long way.
But on the offensive side of things, Bucky Irving with a hamstring missed practice on Thursday.
There's a lot of talk of him taking over the starting job.
Might not be this week.
For it. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Frank Ragnow already been ruled out for Week 4 with the pec injury.
Okay. Yeah. Not great.
Yeah. Tristan Wirfs was limited for them, as was Chris Godwin. These are late yesterday injuries, as was Mike Evans. So Chris Godwin and Mike Evans dealing with some injuries, and Bucky
Wirfs
Irving.
Is a star too.
Yeah. Now, I don't expect Godwin or Evans to miss the game.
Yeah, so I don't think they're super serious, right?
Hunter Henry was limited on Wednesday.
He's actually kind of fantasy relevant now.
Yeah.
I mean, tight ends are bad, and he gets the ball, and he's not a bad player, you know?
Yeah. On that Chargers side of things, both Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt missed practice on Wednesday.
I don't think they've ruled Slater out, but I think he's doubtful if there is such a thing.
Yeah.
And Alt's questionable.
Yeah, I don't think they want to roll them out there if they're not feeling it.
They could be in trouble.
Could be in deep trouble.
Big trouble. Without Herbert, too, and, you know.
Absolutely. Matt, looking at tonight's game, got the Giants and the Cowboys.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a look at some of the DFS possibilities in this game. And
I've never been a huge Singletary fan, but I'd be pretty confident to start him tonight. I think he's looked good as a Giant.
Yeah, and I think would be a solid play against the Cowboys. Can't stop anybody right now.
Short week going to New York. I think New York might even win this game.
They might. They're a big dog at home, and I think with what's the old axiom? A running dog at home. Well,
it's a short week like that too.
Running dog at home. Let me call up the lineups here and see what some of these prices are.
Mm-hmm.
I
would run Daniel Jones a lot. I'd run Singletary a lot. I mean, Neighbors is going to get 1 million targets.
Yeah, right now, I mean, that entire Giants offense is really going through
Neighbors.
Really, he's it.
Wan'Dale Robinson gets the short targets here and there. They don't have any kind of tight end presence. They don't have a third receiver that's standing out. They're getting the ball to their best guys to give them credit. And the O-line's been okay.
Looking at the captain's chair, CeeDee Lamb is 17-7. Neighbors is 16-2. Dak Prescott is 15-6. Daniel Jones is 14-1. Devin Singletary in the captain's chair is only 12-3.
That's not terrible. I mean, against that really bad run defense.
Jake Ferguson is 10-5.
I like Singletary there.
He gets targeted a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Brandon Cooks is 10-2. Rico Dowdell 9-6. Ezekiel Elliott 9-3.
I'd pay for Dowdell over Elliott, but Elliott might be the goal line guy.
Jalen Tolbert is 8-7. The Cowboys' defense is 8,100. Brandon Aubrey 7,500. Wan'Dale Robinson is 7,200.
That seems too cheap
for the captain's chair.
Yeah, he's gonna get targeted.
He might have 8 catches tonight. It might be 8 catches for 59 yards.
Mm-hmm.
But that allows you at 7-2 in the captain's chair. He's cheaper than the Cowboys' defense.
Wow,
he's cheaper than the Cowboys' kicker.
Wow, I mean, he's a really good kicker, but still, Robinson's going to get the ball.
He's going to get he gets the ball every week in this offense.
Mm-hmm. I would also think there's going to be a lot of quick game with Dallas's pass rush.
Yeah, that's the other thing about it. Like,
you might run all over them, but I don't know you're going to pass.
Or if they start crowding the line of scrimmage to stop the run, and they want to still bracket neighbors on the outside.
Mm-hmm.
Some quick stuff to the flats with him, or quick stuff over the middle.
Yeah,
I think he catches a bunch of passes.
I think Robinson's a good player too.
Yeah,
that does seem cheap.
Yeah, because if you do that, then Lamb is 11-8, Neighbors is 10-8, Prescott is 10-4, Daniel Jones is 9-4, and Singletary is 8-2. You might be able to get all those guys in the lineup.
That wouldn't be bad.
Let me take a look at it here. We're not going to play it because I just never do well in these games. I don't study this like I do regular stuff. But in the flex, then that
does seem cheap for.
Let me see if that gets us all 5 of those. It doesn't get us all 5. That would be. Let me see here. So if we went CeeDee Lamb and Neighbors,
they're going to get 1 million targets between the two of them.
We could still get Singletary.
I would definitely want Singletary.
Yeah. Then maybe you're looking at, you wouldn't have either quarterback. Well, you could get one of the 2 quarterbacks. Which one would you prefer?
Dak.
But Jones is cheaper.
That's why I prefer Dak, I guess.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Well, even if you went Daniel Jones, it still leaves you 2,600, and that would get you nobody of note.
Yeah,
all right.
Some long shot.
Yeah, so you're better off going, because you got 12,000 left over. So that would get you, let's say, Ezekiel Elliott. Maybe he gets into the end zone.
He's going to get the ball.
Yeah.
I'd love to avoid their backfield, but if it can get you Lamb and Neighbors.
And how about the Cowboys' defense?
How about a kicker?
Or you go Aubrey. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Aubrey is just below that. It's a 5,000. That leaves you an extra 800 there. So you could actually pay up and get, instead of Zeke, you could go Jake Ferguson.
That's not bad. I'd rather Ferguson than Zeke.
All right, and that spends everything. So that would be Wan'Dale Robinson in the captain's chair at 7,200. CeeDee Lamb, Malik Neighbors, Devin Singletary, Jake Ferguson, and Brandon Aubrey.
You're going to lock it in. You know it. You're all happy about it. You didn't have any money left over.
All the money. Maybe that's exactly what you're supposed to play. Because usually
that's like the puzzle completed.
Usually in these captain's share games, it's like you have money left over. And I can't figure out. You end up with some
bucks. What am I going to do?
Yeah, with some bum in the lineup.
Yeah.
All right, I'll lock it in. Why not? I'm actually. I said this earlier. I'm not going to watch this game live tonight.
Oh, I am.
Just because I'm going to have to go through this tape next week on Monday.
Yeah.
Watching the Cowboys. And
you really want to watch Cowboys Giants twice? Is that your point?
Kind of the point, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch this game because watching it on TV is one thing. Watching the All-22 is something. Different. I'll do that with a Steeler game just because that's my job.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to have to watch the Cowboys Giants twice.
I love that they're playing. Well, I don't love that they're getting a long rest before the Steelers, but I do love that I can do 3 days worth of extra Cowboy homework after they get this game in the bag.
Yeah.
So
your cheat sheet next week will be 5 times as long as it normally is.
I always start them on Friday, by the way. I can do all the series history and some stuff like that and some trends, So I'll start fiddling with it tonight or tomorrow. Anyway.
Well, I'll have a big breakdown next week that'll drop on Saturday on the Steelers Cowboys history of the series.
That's a great one. Yeah.
So I've gone back and researched some very early games.
Okay.
At one point, the Steelers and Cowboys in the same division.
I mean, I was taught as someone born in 1973 is you hate the Cowboys. They're the pretty boys. They're America's team. The Raiders were the number one team people taught me to hate, and then the Cowboys, more so than the division teams.
Yeah, that's the way it was.
Yeah, that's the way it was.
Anyways,
that's pretty good in the 70s.
Yeah, they were. That's going to do it for the Fantasy Football Focus. So Matt and I are going to take a break. We'll be back with more right after this.
This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
And we are back. I'm Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And Matt, our good friend, Bill Barnwell, out with another piece today. And he has been Debbie Downer on the Steelers for pretty much as long as I can remember.
He tends to even joke about it now.
No, that's exactly what he does now.
Right.
Just because he's an analytics guy.
They buck those trends.
They defy the analytics.
More than any team out there.
100%. It's like,
it's not even close, right?
And he admits that now. He's like, I'm going to write this, and this is what it is, but these guys are going to probably make me look stupid.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good conversation, though. I mean, It really is, because, these things generally don't hold up in the history of the league, and I'm a believer in that stuff, but sometimes teams are outliers.
Yeah, and, as he points out here, and he ranks the 3-0 teams.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. Okay.
In terms of their staying
reading
power.
list tonight.
Yeah. As he mentions here, NFL teams that start the season 3-0 have one foot in the postseason door. Since he even broke this down a little bit more so than what the NFL has done, he goes from 2002.
Okay.
Since 2002.
I wonder why he picked that one.
I don't know.
I would say it wasn't a 17-game schedule then.
Yeah.
I mean, that was,
But since 2002, 82 of the 111 teams that began with 3 straight victories to start the season have advanced to the playoffs. 74%.
Wow. Okay.
I think it was 75% since 2000.
They said 4-0 or 3-0?
3-0.
I think it was even lower than that.
It goes to 84% if you get to 4-0.
Yeah.
And that should, he said, as he mentions here, it should rise even higher with more seasons of a 14-team playoff bracket, which we've only had for a few years now.
You're right. It was 3-0 is 75%. 4-0 is like 84%.
Yeah. Last year, just 3 teams started the season 3-0. All 3 of them made the playoffs.
Did they?
49ers, Dolphins, Eagles.
Okay.
Now, if the season had gone like another 2 weeks, the Eagles wouldn't have made it. But
no, they were falling apart.
Yeah.
But so be it.
The last time a team
Miami
started
didn't finish strong either.
The last time a team started 3-0 and missed the playoffs was 2021, when both the Broncos and Panthers did it. They went a combined 6-22 after starting 3-0.
Wonder if there was big injuries to Cam Newton or somebody, or something that crumbled it.
Yeah. So anyways, he says, let's take a look here at the 3-0 teams, and there are only 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like there's a huge
No,
number.
right.
And
there's
that's
only 3-0 or winless teams.
Yeah.
Too. Right.
That's the weird thing about today's NFL. There's so much parity.
There really is.
That the Raiders can go into Baltimore and win, and then go get smoked by Carolina the next week.
Next week, yep.
I mean, it's just where it's at.
It is.
And to me, that's why that's where I think coaching comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
That you don't have as many peaks and valleys or highs and lows.
Yeah, and there will be some. I mean, of course. I mean,
it's a parity-driven league.
Yeah, and it's so many eyes on one game. I always talk about this all the time too. Like the Yankees or Pirates or whatever lost 10-0 one day. Nobody cares about it a week later. Right?
Right. It's forgotten about.
Yeah.
So the first team here is the Kansas City Chiefs. Their wins have come against Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
3 quality wins.
Yeah, they are. They haven't blown my doors off as this juggernaut, though.
No, they're not playing their best football. Mahomes has already thrown 4 interceptions.
Mm-hmm. He even said the other day, I'm not playing my best football.
Yeah.
And it's obvious he is not.
And as you pointed out in your stats package, which will drop tomorrow, he's got the lowest ADOT in the league right now.
Yeah.
Again, he had it last year, and he's got it again this year. This was this year, but when they go out and they get Xavier Worthy, they sign Hollywood Brown.
Right.
Now, Hollywood Brown hasn't played it down for him this year.
But their intentions were to push the ball down the field more.
And it's just not happening.
No.
They're not using Worthy in that way. A lot of the stuff, even early, that you've seen with him has been behind the line of scrimmage stuff and things of that nature.
Yep. And I referenced it, though. I mean, that's been one of the trends, though, of the really good offenses is low ADOT.
Some of it, though, too, is I don't want to say he's fallen off a cliff, but how many times in the past did you see Mahomes kind of move around in the pocket, buy some time, and there's a 20-yard pass down the field to Kelsey, who somehow is all standing all by himself?
Yeah. I've seen none of that this year. I don't think that he's getting open at the same rate. I don't think he's creating in the same way. And I forget who did the breakdown I watched, but direct routes that used to be Kelsey's are now Rice's.
Yeah.
He's getting old.
Yeah. He's 35 going on 36.
With some other interests.
I think he turns 36 next week.
I'd be shocked if he's back next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not playing their best football. Now, the thing about them that people don't think about, they're more of a defensive team now than they were.
They absolutely are.
Than they are an offensive team.
I think that kind of shifted with the Tyreek trade.
Yeah.
They developed a lot of those picks that went to the defensive players, the McDuffies of the world, all those linebackers that are good players. They used a lot of those extra picks on defense.
Although they're not as deep at linebacker as they were.
No, they had a million of them before.
Yeah,
right.
And you lose a L'Jarius Sneed now. Like you
had to pick between Jones and Sneed.
Yeah, they're not. And Jones is now 30.
Yep.
And he's not a full-time player.
No, I mean they're not a juggernaut. I mean they could three-peat. I do think they're in the middle of a dynasty, but they have warts.
Yeah, they're not.
You've talked about the tackles a lot.
They're not the unbeatable.
No.
Franchise that even Barnwell makes note of that. Look, this team is a couple of inches from losing or potentially losing to the Ravens. They needed a 51-yard field goal to beat the Bengals in the last second at home in week 2. And then even last week, they hadn't needed a pair of red zone stops in the fourth quarter against the Falcons to win that game.
They were hanging on for dear life there, too.
And that was a situation, to me, where the Falcons lost that game as much as the Chiefs won it. Again, you take the points in that situation. Raheem Morris is a guy. It's funny. I'm watching the game last week at halftime, and they had him on for an interview, and he comes out and he says, hey, our guys aren't going to blink. We're going to run to it, not away from it. And I'm like, he stole those right from Mike Tomlin. And I mentioned something about that to Mike after his press conference on Tuesday. He goes, man, Raheem should send me part of his check every week because he coached under Tomlin. That's where
of course, yeah. And they're good friends, right?
And he said that there were times when they were in Tampa together because he was the assistant. Raheem Morris was the assistant defensive backs coach. Tomlin was the defensive backs coach. When Morris would be running the meeting and Tomlin wouldn't be in the room, and he would listen in, and Morris would be in there impersonating Mike Tomlin,
doing Tomlinisms.
Yeah,
yeah. It's great.
So But he didn't learn. He didn't learn that part of the game from Tomlin. How to not lose the game in those situations.
Sure. So back to the Chiefs. I hesitate to do this because there is an art to winning close games, and the Chiefs are great at it. The Steelers are great at it. They're great head coaches. They have a ton of wins. But they're not far from being 0-3.
Yeah.
You know, like, we know how this league goes. And again, I don't do that often. But if they were 0-3, it would be like, the sky is falling, the Chiefs are terrible. And meanwhile, their DVOA would be the same. Their EPA would be the same. You know,
obviously, the Chiefs have beaten Baltimore and Cincinnati. 2 quality wins. At least that's what we thought heading into the season. I think they'll still end up being that.
Yeah.
I think the Falcons win will be a quality win as well.
There's no cream puffs. We know that. Yeah.
But the Steelers' victories this season, excuse me, have been more dominant than Kansas City's.
Oh, yeah. They have been. There's no question about that.
They've controlled
and they've won common opponent.
They've controlled those games more so than the Chiefs did in those games.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of those games, the games against Baltimore and Cincinnati, were in Arrowhead.
Yeah, I mean, all theirs went down to the last wire. Went down to the wire.
So, and I get it. As I said, you know, when you're a 2-time defending champion, you're getting everybody's best punch.
No question.
You know, there's some of that too.
And I'm not worried that Mahomes all of a sudden got bad.
No, I'm not either.
Right.
But again, to our point that they're not.
I think they're beatable. You know, right.
The Bills.
Like, whatever their payoff is to win the Super Bowl, I probably wouldn't put money on because it's not going to pay off that great. And you know,
somebody else could beat them.
Yeah.
And it could be the Bills.
The Bills are really in a good spot.
Their 3 wins have been, you know, the Arizona game was,
yeah,
but that was week 1. Week 1, crazy stuff happens.
And they crushed the Jags.
They crushed the Jags, and they blew Miami out of the building, and that was before the Tua injury.
Yeah, you can't blame that at all.
No.
Allen's the MVP right now. I mean, I think it's by a mile. And the defense that's a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Is the defense I thought would suffer.
And they're missing some guys right now.
They're missing some guys.
Yeah.
And it hasn't hurt them. You know.
They're
in a good spot.
Defensive line is playing well.
Very.
Allen is distributing the football well.
And the mistakes have dropped drastically this year for him.
People are talking about Justin Fields playing mistake-free football. I think it's even bigger or as big a surprise that Josh Allen is playing that way.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, he always makes up for it or close to it. I mean, but he is valuing the football. It's the best he's looked, which is really saying something.
Absolutely. Then you get to the Steelers. So he has the Steelers as his 3rd team on here in terms of staying power.
He's ranking them. Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, the wins at Atlanta, at Denver, and then the Chargers at home. And here's what he is. As someone who predicted the Steelers would decline for the 3rd consecutive season, let's just say things aren't going well. Mike Tomlin's team is off to a great start, leading this league in scoring defense. It's already 2 games up on the rest of the AFC North. I feel the same way about my prediction that Doug Peterson feels about the Jaguars. Everything is on the table. We're just not very good right now.
Again, he's making fun of himself because they buck his type of trends.
Yeah. Is what the Steelers are doing sustainable? Of course not. But when has that ever mattered? On one level, they have benefited from playing a slate of limited quarterbacks. Kirk Cousins wasn't fully healthy in the season opener, and Justin Herbert was dealing with a high ankle sprain even before he was forced to leave Sunday's game.
Okay.
Those two veterans,
they're good players.
Yeah. Those 2 veterans sandwich Bo Nix, a rookie who's still feeling his way into running an NFL offense. If you argued that all 3 of those quarterbacks have looked better against other opponents than they have against the Steelers, though, you would be right.
That's what I was about to say. The following week, though, Nix goes down and
tears apart
Tampa. Right. You know, and Atlanta's O-line looks like a good O-line, except when they play Steelers.
Right.
You know, and I know there's some visuals out there of Cousins kind of favoring his legs and things, but I don't know that he miraculously healed in 7 days either.
No.
You know?
No.
Right.
Tomlin's defense is thriving by winning in places every defense wants to win. 3rd down and red zone.
Mm-hmm.
The Steelers are allowing their opponents to convert on just 21.9% of the red zones or third downs, the best rate for any team. Likewise, they have allowed just 1 touchdown in 6 red zone trips. In a league in which offenses are converting 52% of their red zone trips into touchdowns, the Pittsburgh defense has held opponents to a 17% success rate on forays inside the 20.
Wow.
Now, somebody asked me today on YouTube, which, again, ask questions on YouTube. I'll look stuff up. If I don't know the answer, we'll find out. To compare the 2008 Steelers defense with this one in terms of they wanted the time of possession stuff.
Okay.
Because the time of possession, the Steelers are killing it in time of possession right now.
They're 2nd in the league, right?
But I looked at those 2 stats in particular.
Red zone and 3rd down? Coach always talks about money downs.
Third downs, that 2008 defense finished it, I think it was 32%.
Okay.
Which is pretty good. You take that. And the red zone defense, 33% they allowed that year.
Wow. Okay.
So right now, this team is playing better than that. Is that sustainable? It's probably going to balance out a little bit.
I'm sure it'll get worse.
But I think the offense is going to get better, continue to get better as we get into this thing as well.
I think we all predicted this. I mean, actually thought Wilson would be the starter, but we, a lot of people that I've been on the air with, thought the O-line's going to take some time. It's not the most dynamic group of pass catchers. That's going to take a little time, too. And you got a new system with a new quarterback. I mean, you got a lot of new starters.
Last season, the best third down defense in terms of conversion rate was the Cleveland at 29.1%.
What's the Steelers at now?
They were at 29.1%. Cleveland, the Steelers are at 21.9.
Okay.
So
if you're the best, it should be in that neighborhood.
It's not going to get that. It's not going to get that much worse or better or worse, I should say, than 21.9. I think that is sustainable.
That's
maybe not quite to that level, but
I mean, of course, you'd take it if it's like they finish the season 20. You take it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It'd be awesome.
Number one, right?
Last season, the best red zone defense was the Titans at 37.7%.
And you said the Steelers are like 33?
They're at 17% right
17.
now.
No, they were 33.
In 2008, they were 33%. So that is doable.
They're not going to stay at 17.
No.
I mean, that's.
But again, I think
they got some stiffer tests coming up.
Yeah.
Too,
I also think that the offense, like again, when people talk about, well, they only scored 20 points last week, they could have had 27 pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
They would have, had 2 or 3 shots from the one as the clock ran out. But there's no sense in doing that. Like Bob Labriolo, of course, who was our guest yesterday, was asked and answered, why didn't the Steelers punch that in? All right, so let's say they line up and punch that in. But Najee Harris gets hurt on it while they're doing it. Or
the game was
Zach Frazier gets hurt on that play. Instead of taking a knee there, you get one of your guys gets hurt on a play at the goal line. What'd you do that for?
Yeah. The game was won.
Yeah, it was over.
Why bother kicking off again, or why risk anything?
Do anything crazy?
Yeah.
So
I also bet. I know it's only been 3 games, but they'll score on defense or special teams this year too.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll bet everything I have at least once.
Justin Fields has a 3.1% interception rate over 3 seasons with the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
He's at 1.3% with the Steelers, and even that one was kind of fluky.
Right, it wasn't a bad throw.
No.
One of my favorite PFS things is turnover-worthy plays.
He's got 1.
He has none.
Oh, none, yeah.
Him and Aaron Rodgers have 0.
Yeah.
Because they did not deem that or any other that didn't get picked turnover-worthy.
The other
which
thing
I agree with.
that he is doing better, he had a 12.3% sack rate in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
This season, he's at 7.4.
Yeah.
He's getting the ball out. He's not holding it. He's playing winning football.
Yeah, I'm looking for it here. Okay, so whereas he used when you combine his sack and interception percentage, those 3 years he was in Chicago, he was the worst in the league. 13.2% of his dropbacks ended up in a sack or an interception.
Negative plays.
Yeah. Sack or interception. This year he's tied for Mahomes. It's 7.7. It's 10th best in the league in terms of negative plays.
Yeah.
He's the 10th best in the league this year, where historically he's been the worst.
And that, to me, Matt, has been something that they have done this year offensively. Like the Steelers right now are averaging 2.9 yards per rushing play on first down, which is not good.
No, that needs to get better. Right.
On second down, they're averaging 4.7 yards per rushing attempt.
Really?
What they've done, though, is even though it's only 2.9 yards on first down, they've consistently gotten something.
2nd and 7's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Even 2nd and 8 or 2nd and 9, you're at least in a situation where it's not 2nd and 12.
Yes.
Or 2nd and 11, and that's where they were running into issues in previous seasons.
So success rate is a very common metric now in the NFL.
Yeah.
And what they do with success rate is if you get 4 yards on first down, that is a successful play. Because 2nd and 6, every offensive coordinator will, I'll live with 2nd and 6. And then on second down, if you get half of the to go, if it's 2nd and 10, you got to get at least 5 yards to deem a successful play. Or if it's 2nd and 1, you got to get, or 2nd and 2, you have to get a yard. So 3 yards on first down isn't great, but it's also not
it doesn't
far
kill
from
you.
successful either. 2nd and 7 versus 2nd and 6 doesn't change your play call.
2nd and 11 is a different world. 2nd and 11, you're probably throwing the ball.
Yeah. And
2nd and 7, you can still run it again.
I mean, you get stuffed at the line of scrimmage is a problem. I mean, positive yardage on first down isn't perfect, but it's not the end-all be-all either.
Ideally, when you get into 3rd down, you want it to be 3rd and 6 or less.
Yes. Like 3rd down success rate is you just have to convert it.
Yeah.
No matter if it's 3rd and 13, 3rd and 1, whatever. Was it a successful play or not? Did I get the first down? That one's easy,
Yeah,
right?
that one's easy to judge. But, they're staying out of those situations where they are getting in, penalties aside, into 2nd and 11, 2nd and 12.
Yeah.
It's all stuff that's still manageable.
It's so manageable, right.
And I think
– And you're not asking Fields to be Superman.
No, you're not doing that. And I think Arthur Smith, to me, is a coordinator who's willing to stick with stuff.
More than maybe any coordinator in the league.
He doesn't panic on if it's 2nd and 8. Well, we can still run the ball.
Mm-hmm.
If we get 4 yards here, it's 3rd and 4.
We'll be happy about it in the 4th quarter.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think that's a big part of it.
And I do think his run game will get better, to your point, too.
Yeah.
Maybe the 3-yard runs become a 4-yard run.
Absolutely. Then they have the Seahawks here. The Seahawks have beaten Denver, New England, Miami. Really haven't done
Not great.
Yeah,
Right.
not a good slate of teams. And his final team on here is Minnesota, beating the Giants, San Francisco, and Houston. They've got maybe the 2 most impressive wins of any of
Seattle
these
would be
teams.
last for me. And they've been very impressive. I mean, we're nitpicking here with perfect teams record-wise.
Yeah. But anyways, that's the Bill Barnwell list. We talked a lot about the Steelers there.
Yeah, it was
This
good.
being Steeler Nation Radio.
That's what we do around here.
We're going to get to a break. When we return, we're expected to be joined by Steelers outside linebacker Nick Herbig. We'll do that right after this. And welcome back. I am Dale Lolley. He is the Matt Williamson. And our guest on the phone line calling in here, much appreciated, is Steelers outside linebacker Nick Herbig. Nick, how you doing today?
I'm awesome. Thank you guys for having me.
We appreciate you dropping by, and especially on the eve of your first NFL start. Has that hit you yet?
Not really, man. Honestly, I just try to go into every game, with my mind right, body right, and we'll see what happens. So, definitely a blessing. We'll see what happens.
You got the Wisconsin front starting this week with you and Keanu and TJ out there. It's going to be quite a Badger type of day.
Oh, yeah. What can I say, man? We're everywhere.
TJ's obviously been a huge influence on you. I mean, is that somebody you've just learned a ton from and look up to quite a bit?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I look up to him because he's probably going to tease me about saying that. But no, I definitely.
He's pretty good.
I definitely do look up to him, man. He taught me so much. Especially like even Alex too. TJ, Alex, Denzel. Coach Martin. He's believed in me since the day I stepped foot in the building. So I have nothing but respect for those guys and just what they've done for me and helped develop me as a young player in this league.
Now, you go out last week against the Chargers and you pick up 2 sacks in a very limited amount of playing time there, Nick. You're setting the bar pretty high for yourself to go out there and do that, but I'm sure you have those same expectations of yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I would be doing myself a disservice if I didn't have expectations high, because then what do you train for? What do you work your whole life for, But I mean, at the end of the day, it's not about me or my individual plays or my goals. I just want to win, man.
Nick, I got to ask, how's your brother Nate doing? Is the recovery coming along well, in good spirits, all that stuff?
Yeah, I honestly think he'll be back stronger than he ever was.
Good.
Like that old saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So I'm excited for him. This is something that he's never had to really go through. So it's a little bump in the road, but I know he'll come back stronger.
He's got to be. He's a happy-go-lucky guy and is always in a good mood. But when you're hurt like this, I'm sure there's some times now where he's maybe a little bit grouchy, especially during football season.
Probably wants to be out there.
Yeah, I don't know how people get the happy-go-lucky guy because I only know him as grouchy.
Well, he's got to get the big brother. He's got to play that off on you a little bit. But
we were talking off the air, and Dale mentioned that your family moved from Hawaii to Wisconsin while you guys were there. Are they in Pittsburgh too now?
I mean, they visit here and there.
Okay.
but not really like how it was in college. You know, that was back at it was kind of crazy to think about that whole dynamic during college, but no, not anymore.
Yeah, COVID allowed your mom and dad to move to Madison to watch you play your final year there. That had to be pretty cool. You were living in the house with them, right?
Yeah. They was living downstairs and I was living upstairs.
That kind of, you can't get away with much when mom and dad are downstairs. That kind of makes it a little tough.
Yeah, I mean, in a way though, now that I look at it, it's like I feel like it kind of helped me because it just made me lock in even more. You know, didn't really have time to be throwing house parties or, you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I've heard Madison's kind of a crazy place for that kind of stuff, so that might be a good thing. When you look at this Steelers defense, I know Mike Tomlin uses the next man up. He's used that basically since day one here. What kind of pressure does that put on a guy when you're stepping into the line, but particularly when you're stepping into the lineup on the number one defense in the league?
Yeah, I mean, Alex is a heck of a player, man. He's a heck of a guy too. I have nothing but respect for that guy and what he's done in Pittsburgh and what he'll continue to do throughout his career. But you know, I'm just super thankful and blessed that, you know, I'm able to be in this position and be that guy that they can count on to step in, you know, and not let that playing level drop off any bit.
Alex certainly is a heck of a player, and, you know, his absence will be missed without question. But it is a great opportunity for you, and I can't wait to see you on a more regular basis. But I'm also excited about watching a little more DeMarvin Leal, too. I mean, his transition on the outside has been really interesting. How's that going? Yeah,
Leal's a freak. He has all the tools. He has the size, everything. You know, and he's coming in a new position now for him. And I think he's making that transition well. You know, I'm excited to see him get some more snaps as well.
Well, hopefully, and this is no knock on you. Hopefully, Alex is back sooner or than later here. But certainly a big opportunity for you on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. Have you looked at a lot of tape on this quarterback, Anthony Richardson? He might be bigger than you.
Yeah, he's a good player, man. He's solid. He's athletic. Yeah, like you say, he's big. He can throw the ball. He has a rocket. He can run it. You know, and I think that's just the way the game's trending nowadays too, with all these dual threat quarterbacks.
So TJ and Alex rarely swap sides. I mean, they stay on left and right. But when you were the number 3 guy, you have to fill in for both. Do you have a preference, or do you have different strategies coming from one side or the other?
Yeah, I think I think it's every position in football. Whether it's receiver, corner, D-line, linebacker, like you're going to play the left side different than you play the right side. You know, your body is just built that way. You know, sometimes you can do different things on the left side than you can do on the right side. So kind of just figuring that out, and you know, kind of finding your niche in that.
Well, it looks like you've found that niche pretty well. You've gotten sacks off of both sides throughout the preseason as well. So, yeah, you look like there's 3 of you out there. So we'll let you go here. We appreciate you calling in. That is Nick Herbig, Steelers outside linebacker. He'll make his first career start on Sunday against the Indianapolis Colts. Really good stuff there from Nick. We appreciate him calling in, and have a good game on Sunday, Nick.
Thank you guys so much. Go Steelers.
Matt, that's going to do it for the show today.
Yeah, that was great calling. I think he's set up to have a really good game. Can't wait to see more of him and Leal. But Highsmith won't be out all that long, it sounds like. So what a strong position group that is.
Yeah, it really is. It's strong and deep. And as we said, he might be the best number 3 in the league and would start for a lot of teams across the league.
Yeah.
The one thing I do wonder, though, Matt, what this does for the special teams unit, because
he's a big snap eater there.
He eats a lot of innings on special teams and is pretty good at that. So
I'm going to pay attention. I wonder if
maybe
he will
a
play
guy
on
like
special
the guy I talked to yesterday, Terrell Edmonds, gets a hat because of that.
Because of that. Yeah, it'd be useful. Interesting how they build that puzzle on game day.
Yeah, absolutely. But as I mentioned, that's going to do it for our show today. So for my partner, Matt Williamson, for Justin Miller here on site, keeping us on the air, for Tyler Vittmeyer, keeping us alive on the video, as much as they can right now. I'm Dale Lolley. We appreciate you listening to this edition of The Drive on the Steelers Audio Network.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.